Now, what do you think when I say the word sabotage? Well, you naturally think somebody's doing something against you so they can ensure that you lose or you don't perform the way you do in a fight. Sure. Now, what do I mean by self-sabotage? That means you're doing it to yourself. How? Have you ever had everything working out so well for you? Your training, your weight cut, no injuries, whatever the case may be. But for some reason, you panic? What's up, guys? My name is Shorty Torres, and you're watching another episode of Inside Team Shorty, where I'll be giving you the reality, the truth, and everything behind the scenes of the sport of MMA. Now, before I get into the video, I just want to say thank you so much, guys. My very first video, suggested above, the truth about MMA, has finally reached 1,000 views. Now, I know it's not like any other YouTube channel where they get hundreds of thousands or millions or whatever the case may be of views. It's 1,000, and I really do appreciate it, and it means a lot that you guys supported me, so thank you so much. And I wouldn't be able to do this without you, whether it's the videos, MMA, and whatnot. So just thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy and continue to enjoy. Alright, now back to the real topic. This video is called self-sabotage. Now, what does that mean? Well, I break it down in two ways. You can self-sabotage yourself in the perspective and going, man, everything's not going well for me. Well, then more than likely I'm going to lose. Well, with that mindset, yeah, you're more than likely going to lose, and that's self-sabotage. Or the one people don't really realize is what happens if everything's working out so well for you, whatever the case may be, but for some reason you panic because of that. Now, that's also called self-sabotage. So before we really get into it, let's break it down. What makes people focus for a fight? Well, first of all, it's the opponent. I know from firsthand, if it's not the best opponent in the world, I probably don't want to train my best. It's just a mentality type of thing. I know he's maybe a C-class athlete, so I don't have to try as hard to beat him. Given, again, that's not the best mindset in the world, but I have done that before. But I know firsthand, if I'm going to fight someone that's championship level caliber, again, I was a 2-belt champion in Titan FC, I'm going to train my butt off just to make sure I not just win the fight, but dominate it. To prove to people that I'm not just a fighter, but I'm now a champion. Another reason, the weight cut. People ask me this every day, and yes, my nutritionist, Lutrition, calls me Jose Chubby Torres for a reason. I do cut 30 pounds for every single fight. I know if my practices don't go well, I'm not going to lose the amount of weight I want to lose for that practice, and I might be set back a little bit. And again, I'll get to that in a whole different video when it talks about weight cutting. But Dominic Cruz is a huge example. In one of the interviews, he did state that he loves the weight cut. And I'm not saying that he loves it, he needs to weight cut every single fight. It's the fact of it makes him focus. He knows 100% that he has to put full effort into every single practice to be able to get his body prepared for a 20, 30 pound weight cut. If he's not working as hard in the practice, he's not losing the amount of calories or burning all the fat he wants to burn in that specific time. So weight cut can definitely make someone focus for a fight. It could be the moment. You're fighting for a title. You're fighting for a title contender shot. You're fighting to get ranked. You're fighting to get into the UFC, whatever the case may be. Sometimes the moment itself it's exhilarating. It makes you focus for a fight. Your friends, your family, everyone can be there. You don't want to freeze up in front of them. So you focus. You could be the underdog trying to prove a point. I know coming up as an amateur, and even still now, there's fights where I'm the underdog. I know if I lose, hey, technically I was supposed to lose, but I'm still pushing forward, and I want to prove the point that I am better. No matter what people say, I'm going to beat that guy. Lastly, whatever goals you have. Again, you're trying to fight for a title. You're trying to be UFC champion or whatever champion. For me, I want to be a hero. I know every time I fight, I motivate somebody. So the more I win, the more people see if I can do it, so can they. So that's my motivation. But those are a few reasons of why people focus on fights. The crazy thing about that, though, is that also makes you panic. Now let's break them all down again. The fighter, who are you fighting? Are you fighting Joanna Jędrzejczyk? Are you fighting John Jones? Are you fighting Anderson Silva? Yeah, that's a big moment. You're gonna panic. But mentally, you have to calm yourself down. The moment you might be fighting for a title, you might be fighting for this, that. People freak out. They put too much pressure on themselves. A big thing in the sport today, again, is the weight cut. If you're not doing what you need to do to properly cut weight, you're not gonna make it. Or let's say you do make it, but it was extremely dehydrated and you lost so much weight in such a small amount of time. Now, you're not mentally in there. You weren't focused on the fight. You were focusing on cutting weight, and you're more than likely gonna lose because of it. There's so many reasons why people focus and or panic for fights. But let's get back to the topic of self-sabotage. So again, I break it down in two ways. I know I've sadly done this in wrestling, mainly in wrestling, but I've also done it as an amateur MMA fighter, and even at the start of my pro career. So again, with this one, I can't state any fighters because I don't know for fact, or I do know for fact, but I'm not going to state these people. So I'm just going to use myself as an example. So self-sabotage, what I used to do in wrestling back in the day, I started as freshmen. Some guys started when they're 4, 8, 10 years old, so they had years and years and years of experience on me, mainly when I only had 1. So naturally, I used to look at people and go, man, he's stronger, he's taller, he's longer, he has a record, his accolades go on forever, he's been wrestling so many more years that there's probably no way I could win. Now with that mindset, sadly, I went in there not confident, not believing in myself, no self-esteem, and was more than likely going to lose, which, because of it, I did. Now, how many amateur MMA fighters do you know, and I still see, even in my team today, where they go, oh, this kid's done this, this kid's done that, he's buff, he looks strong, he knocked out someone in his last fight, he might knock me out. All these things get in their head. Now, I do want to break down one thing. Muscles, looks, judging a book by its cover, again, doesn't mean a thing. If looks definitely meant a thing, look at Yoel Romero, look at Will Brooks, look at Chet Congo, and so many more that are literally physical specimens, a gift from God. They're genetically perfect, but none of them are undefeated. If that were the case, they would have been champions in every single promotion. In every single fight, they would have dominated. But in the sport, your body type, your looks, your speed, your power doesn't really mean a thing because there's always going to be something to counter it. There's always a kryptonite to something. Again, if that were true, Vitor Belfort would have ran through Anderson Silva, but look what happened. So that's one way of self-sabotage, is people think too much. They look at all the negative. Again, I know fighters even like myself that at the point I have been of, oh man, I'm an underdog, more than likely I'm gonna lose. Look at this guy's accolades, look at this guy's stuff, I'm gonna lose. And that's a really poor way of thinking. Again, this sport is 90, 95, 100% mental. And I know from personal experience, even in my last fight, if you're not mentally there, you're gonna get hurt. And trust me, my last fight was an example of that. What you should be thinking of is you're an underdog. That's awesome. There's no pressure on you. You're technically supposed to lose. If you lose, no problem. Everyone kind of guessed it anyways. You didn't let anyone down because people expected it. So you might as well try. What's the best thing that can happen? You knock them out. You submit them. You, whatever the case may be, you beat them. Him or her. But don't go in there thinking because I'm the underdog, because all these people think this about me, I'm gonna lose. Because that's not how this sport works. Now that's one way of self-sabotage, and that's the obvious way. But have you ever seen someone actually break themselves down because everything is working out so perfect? Honestly, I've done it to myself. My biggest example was my pro debut. Now, I didn't know what I was doing as an amateur. And I say that as I didn't know all the accolades that I was getting was different. Again, 2-time Pan American gold medalist, wrestling All-American, 2-time and first ever IMUF world champion. And so many more things with that. 25-1, 25 undefeated streak, whatever the case may be. I thought that was normal. I thought I was doing just what everyone else is doing. All I did was honestly listen to my coach. Things just happened to play in my favor. But when I went pro, all this hype got circled around me. And every single interview I did, because I was Mr. Yes Man to everything, every single interview pretty much ended, you're gonna win this fight. Doesn't matter who you fight. There have been 4 people to back out already. Now you got some nobody. Somebody that's just not known going in there against you. You're gonna kill him. You're gonna dominate him. And then you're gonna be a champion one day. Given, technically they were right. But I was like, cool, yeah, I appreciate it, thank you so much. But after every single interview, it slowly started to get into my head. And I started to get a little more confident in myself, but a little too confident that I was starting to get cocky. But the thing that not just brought me back down to my feet, but even sunk me down into the ground was one quote, which I really hope this guy's watching, and I'm not gonna state his name, but one quote honestly really messed me up. And some guy goes, honestly, Shorty, you're a phenomenal athlete. You know how to talk, you know how to fight, you have the record, you have the accolades, you have everything a fan wants. That's awesome. But remember, you only make your pro debut once, so don't mess it up. That quote, oh, that quote messed me up. Fight week, I've never had so much anxiety before a fight. I don't want to go out, I don't want to grocery shopping, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. I wanted to be alone. Because now I started to think, what if this guy knocks me out? What if he taps me out? What if I lose my pro debut? Was my whole amateur career pointless? Was 5 years of waiting to turn pro worth nothing? You look at it now, obviously it meant something. But at the time, I wasn't thinking that way. I was freaking out. My coach had to sit down and talk to me before I went in there for my pro debut and really made me understand why I was fighting again. And I'd never been nervous before a fight. The last time I was nervous before a fight was my amateur debut, and I was so nervous I froze up and lost. But then after that, I won 25 straight with multiple championships. So what makes this opponent different from the rest? That now you're pro? He doesn't have the accolades you have. You've been through so much. You've done this, you've done that. Yes, you're technically supposed to win, but you should still be worried. Keep your hands up, be focused, and give it your all. And if you lose that way, at least you went trying your best, compared to freaking yourself out and now it's full of regret. So I went in there, went on autopilot, and I tapped him out, I believe, in 2 minutes and 9 seconds in the very first round. Everything people were saying was true, and that's awesome, given it was opinion at the time. But all those opinions added up, and it made me freak out. That one quote, man, that freaking one quote. Honestly, if my coach didn't talk to me before that fight, I would have more than likely lost. Everything I thought in my head of every single way he could have tapped me out, knocked me out, whatever the case may be, or even just hurt me, more than likely would have happened. Again, if this is not there, this whole thing means nothing. Not just myself, but even UFC fighters create self-sabotage for themselves. Being the favorite, all their coaches are there, their training was awesome, the weight cut, there was none. Every single scenario is working out in their favor, but for some reason they break themselves down. They think about the situation too much, and because there's no sense of panic, there's no sense of nervousness, there's no sense of what if, now it creates a reality of this will happen. There's no what ifs anymore. And again, sadly, UFC fighters, the top of the top, have done that. This sport is 100% mental, and that's what I call self-sabotage. It's not that everything's against you and you go, okay, well, because no one believes in me, well, I'm gonna lose. That side is easy to flip, because you go, hey man, if I'm technically supposed to lose, then I might as well try my best. Worst thing that happens, I lose. But what if everything's in your favor? You're the favorite, whatever the case may be, and it just doesn't go your way. Now, if you went out trying your best, and hey, you did your thing, but if you went out there frozen because what you thought before and even inside the cage, that's called self-sabotage. What's the cure for that? Well, I'm not a sports psychologist, but I can definitely tell you, you gotta have a strong head. Again, easier said than done, but talk to someone about it. Open up, vent, explain your feelings to other fighters, guys who are veterans that have been through the situations. Again, I've been to multiple camps, and I've talked to phenomenal people all around the world that have accomplished so many great things, it's ridiculous. And I'm, again, very fortunate and very lucky to have been able to do that. But all that's molded into my mentality now, and go, oh yeah, I can do this, I can do that. What if I lose? Who cares? That's bound to happen. Again, anything can happen in this sport. You can be 100% mentally there, but you still get knocked out. That's the crazy but also most fascinating thing about our sport. But that still doesn't mean you shouldn't be mentally there. Don't just train your body, train your mind. Like I said in my previous videos, nervousness, confidence, all these things can mold you into the perfect professional fighter. So again, stay confident, keep your head high, and no matter what happens in there, get back in there and do it again. Because like I said, the sport doesn't last forever, so enjoy it while it lasts. Overall, have there been times that you've created self-sabotage for yourself or know someone who has created self-sabotage? It does happen in the sport a lot more than what you think, and it's honestly pretty crazy. But again, if you liked the video, please click like, hit the notifications button, subscribe, put notifications on, and I appreciate all the love and support. Again, thank you so much for the 1,000 views on my very first episode. Hopefully, the rest of them become like that as well. But again, thank you so much. I really appreciate all the support, and that's why I do say we can, we will, together we are Team Shorty. Again, I'll leave all my social media feeds on the bottom so you can follow. Please follow, support. I appreciate everything. And again, this was another episode of Inside Team Shorty. And until next time.